If you have followed any of these people around for the 20 or 30 or 40 years during which they were amassing their financial empires, I promise you, it would not have been breathtakingly exciting. No more exciting than it would be to follow an Olympic athlete in training every day from his 3:30 a.m. wake-up call to his exhausted collapse into bed at night. We love rags to riches stories and underdog becomes hero stories. And we use them to motivate people because they're so exciting and dramatic, aren't they? Actually, no. The truth is, they're not exciting at all when they're really happening. They only seem dramatic in their retelling. But the reality is that the rags to riches success story person has gotten to where he is by making mundane, quiet, little, slight-edge decisions and repeating simple disciplines day in and day out. It's not exciting to read about. It's not exciting to make a movie about. It's not even exciting to do. But believe me, it sure is exciting when you finally get to experience the results. No matter in what arena in life or work or play, the difference between winning and losing, the gap that separates success and failure, is so slight, so subtle, most never see it. Supermen may leap tall buildings in a single bound. Here on Earth, we win through the slight edge. Chapter 6. 2 Life Paths. There was a time when the people of the world were convinced the sun revolved around the earth. A few visionaries stubbornly refused to accept what was obvious to everyone else. And because Copernicus, Galileo, and a handful of others risked their lives to choose the road less traveled, the rest of the world eventually caught on to what is now obvious to everyone in the 21st century. The Earth revolves around the sun. What's more, in the last 100 years, we've discovered that even space is curved, though that one's still a little hard for most people to wrap their minds around. The truth is, everything is curved. There is no true straight line. Everything is changing, including your life. You are on a journey, your life path. That path is a curve. You're curving either upward or downward. It may seem to you that today was much like yesterday. It wasn't. It was different. Every day is. Appearances can be deceiving, and almost always are. There may be times when things seem to be on a steady, even keel. This is an illusion. In life, there is no such thing as staying in the same place. There are no straight lines. Everything curves. If you're not increasing, you're decreasing. Above and below the slight edge. Wherever you may be in your own life, understanding the slight edge gives you the tools to start fresh, right now, and place yourself firmly on the upper curve. The upper curve is the formula for success. A few simple disciplines repeated every day. The lower curve is the formula for failure. A few simple errors in judgment, repeated every day. The upper curve represents that 1% out of 20, the 5% who are successful and happy at the end of their lives. The lower curve represents the other 19, the 95% who reach their golden years angry and bitter and have no idea or concept of how they got there or why. Life, it seems to them, is unfair, and that's just how it is. But you and I know that's not the case. It's not a matter of being fair or unfair. It's pure geometry. The geometry of time. Most people hold time as their enemy. They seek to avoid the passage of time and strive to have results now. That's a choice based on philosophy. Successful people understand that time is their friend. In every choice I make, every course of action I take, I always have time in mind. Time is my ally. That too is a choice based on a philosophy. Time will be your friend or your enemy. It will promote you or expose you. It depends purely upon which side of this curve you decide to ride. It's entirely up to you. If you're doing the simple disciplines, time will promote you. If you're doing the few simple errors in judgment, time will expose you, no matter how well you appear to be doing right now. Time is the great equalizer. Social science research says that as a child, you heard the word no about 40,000 times by the age of 5, before you even started first grade. How many have you heard the word yes? About 5,000. That's 8 times as many no's as yeses. 8 times the force holding you down compared to the force lifting you up. 8 times the gravity against your desire to soar. Don't do that. Don't say that to your grandmother. No slash. Don't touch that. It's hot. Don't talk to strangers. Don't cross the street. No, no, no. Mind you, most of these no's are well intended. Like the police force motto, their purpose is only to protect and serve. So I'm not criticizing the no's, but where are the yeses? 40,000 no's to 5,000 yeses. 33 negatives to every 3 positives. Is it any wonder that 95% of us are failing? If you are one of those rare and special 5%ers who chooses to break free of the downward pull of life and rise to a higher quality of life, accomplishment and success, to be a pioneer and risk discomfort and ridicule for the sake of your dreams, well, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is you're already exceptionally well-oriented toward success. The bad news is all those 95 others are going to be yanking on you, sitting on you, naysaying and doomsaying on you, and doing their level best to pull you back down. Why? Because if you succeed, you'll make them look as scared and desperate as they are afraid they really are. They know instinctively that there are only 2 ways to make their building the highest building in town. Build an even bigger one, or tear down all the others. Since the odds are against most people building the big one, and since it takes just too darn long to start seeing the results, and since they are not at all aware of the slight edge, they're taking the path of least resistance and going into the demolition business. Blame and responsibility. John Burroughs said, "A man can fail many times, but he isn't a failure until he begins to blame somebody else." If you want to measure where you are, if you want to know whether you're on the success curve or the failure curve, or if you want to assess anyone else and determine which curve they're on, here's how. There is one attitude, one state of mind, which overwhelmingly predominates either side of the curve. The predominant state of mind displayed by those people on the failure curve is blame. The predominant state of mind displayed by those on the success curve is responsibility. People on the success curve live a life of responsibility. They take full responsibility for who they are, where they are, and everything that happens to them. Taking responsibility liberates you. In fact, it is perhaps the single most liberating thing there is. Even when it hurts, even when it doesn't seem fair. When you don't take responsibility, when you blame others, circumstances, fate, or chance, you give away your power. When you take and retain full responsibility, even when others are wrong or the situation is genuinely unfair, you keep your life's reins in your own hands. Negative and difficult things happen to all of us. Most of them are mostly or completely out of our control. It's how we react, how we view those circumstances and conditions that makes the difference between success and failure. And that is completely within our control. The 5%ers who dwell on the upper curve know there are no excuses. They understand and accept the fact that nobody can do it to them, and nobody can do it for them. They are aware of the slight edge, and they understand how it operates in their lives. People on the failure curve are masters of blame. They blame everyone and everything. The economy, the government, the oil prices, the weather, their neighbors, the rich, the poor, the young, the old, their kids, their parents, their boss, their co-workers, their employees, life itself. The inhabitants of the lower curve are life's victims, the great mass of done-tos. I knew a man whose self-declared philosophy was, life is an unpleasant practical joke which occurs somewhere between birth and death. On which side of the curve do you think he was living? Where was he headed? Can you imagine what results that thought, life is an unpleasant practical joke, would create when magnified by the water hyacinth-like force of time? You know the expression, be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. It's not even a question of what you wish for. Be careful what you think, because what you think, multiplied by actions plus time, will create what you get. Responsibility is declaring oneself as cause in the matter. It is a context from which to live one's life. Responsibility is not a burden, fault, praise, blame, credit, shame, or guilt. All these include judgments and evaluations of good and bad, right and wrong, or better and worse. They are not responsibility. Responsibility starts with the willingness to deal with a situation from and with the point of view, whether at the moment realized or not, that you are the source of what you are, what you do, and what you have. Werner Erhard said, "It is not right or even true to declare oneself as cause in the matter. It's just empowering. By standing for yourself as cause, what happens shifts from happening to you to just happening, and ultimately to happening as a result of your being the cause."